Hello, this is Scott Carpenter, and tonight I wanted to talk about the Sasquatch genome study, or the Sasquatch DNA study again. As I predicted in my last video, the critics and the shills and the paid trolls and the attack squad was out in force, and within 24 hours there was a hit piece published, and the same old villains or same old crew were back at it again. And so the emails have started, and to me, you know, asking questions, and so have the messages on Facebook and other platforms. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm not going to make it a long drawn out. I'm going to try to keep these short and hit one or two bullet points, because what we're dealing with is a narrative, and it's an old narrative, one that was used, you know, a few years ago when they were attacking the study. And so, you know, it had a set of talking points, and it was the same talking points over and over, and everybody picked up on them and started using them, and they're going right back to those same talking points. Nothing new. They don't have anything. They haven't done a study of their own. And actually there was a study, and it showed basically, and I'll get into that probably in another episode, but you know, basically another study was done, and it backed up Dr. Ketchum's and the Sasquatch genome studies findings, and it was squashed and disappeared, and never to be seen or heard from again. And some of the key players that are again in attack mode, that are attacking and criticizing and trying to tear everything down again, were involved in that study, and so they know. You know, that's the very sinister, and I guess that's, you know, sinister. I'll use the word sinister thing about some of these people. They know the truth. They know the truth, and they're misleading and spreading disinformation anyway. You know, I can speculate on their motives. It doesn't really matter. So let's get right to it. And so I'm just I've got here from my book, and I'm just going to go right out of my book for the top, you know, for the hit the high points. And you know, it's not going to be just me reading, but you know, my book, the Sasquatch Truth Denied, the Sasquatch DNA Study, you know, it's got, you know, like I said, it is loaded with a wealth of information. If you have questions about the study, I have the receipts, I have everything, comprehensive index. So anything I'm telling you is backed up, okay? And so let's first start with the good old the contamination one. And you know, contamination has been raised for 30 years. Talked about it before. It's always been, you know, you've got, oh, it has to be, you know, since the mitochondrial DNA is human, well, then it must be contaminated. And you know, basically David actually picked up on David Pilates, my friend. You know, he was he was the one who kind of saw this pattern going way back and talked about how, years ago, that when they first started doing DNA, it came back, as human. And he rightly pointed out, maybe it's not contaminated, maybe it's really human. And so, but to get down to the study here and what they did with the DNA study and these things here, and what they did, because you can take hair and you can wash it and you can completely and totally decontaminate it. If you've got a clean lab and you use the proper procedures, you can clean the hair and get all of of any contamination off of it. And one of the world's leading geneticists will tell you that, and I'll show you his quote here in just a minute. So, but in the paper, the team put together protocols, and these protocols included forensically cleaning and processing the hair samples. That's Exhibit 21, DNA isolation. When applicable, I can't say that word, when applicable, robotically processing samples to ensure no possible human contact after cleansing. In other words, they literally had a machine do the processing where nobody touched it. It was so. Testing the samples at forensic laboratories or nationally known laboratories in a complete blind scenario. See in the studies, the laboratories used in the blind studies, chapter 10, for a complete list. And I got a complete list. I may show that tonight. Utilizing DNA sequencing equipment that is extremely sensitive to contamination for nuclear testing. This technology gives the technician what is known as a Q30 score. These scores indicate the purity of the sample. Any score around or above 85 indicates a pure single source sample. The 3 samples in the study, there were 3 samples where they got a full genome and all the nuclear DNA. And the Q30 scores, and this is a machine, no one can tamper with it. It's a machine. The 3 samples in the study scored 92, 88, and 89, which means they were pure. So basically, when this machine, what's happening is, in order to get the profile, it's like taking it's the old transparencies, like back in the day, and where light would shine through it. Well, what it does is it takes the DNA and starts stacking the DNA. And this is metaphorical, but this is what it's doing. And so the more sequences it aligns and stacks, the better, the clearer, and the more easier it is to see the picture or see the DNA. And so if your DNA aligns and it's from the same source, it'll align and everything will look fine. It'll look like that. If your DNA is from multiple sources, it won't align, and it'll start looking like that and won't line up. And so this machine can determine that. And so if there's multiple samples, which means contamination, then they won't line, the sequences won't line up. They won't illuminate correctly, and it'll be a mess. So, but the nuclear DNA, along with the other DNA, let me turn this darn thing off, lined up and were fine. There was a television special called Bigfoot Files Yeti, and here's where world-renowned genetic expert Dr. Brian Sykes, those who are in this world will have been around a little while and have heard about the study will know of this man. And he confirmed and validated the decontamination protocols that were used in the Sasquatch DNA study. And this is basically what he said. The fact is, hair is very resilient. You can clean any suggestion of contamination from the surface of the hair without damaging the DNA that lies within. This is something we have known in the past couple of years. Okay, so he made this quote, several years ago. So even he admits that no matter what these experts or couch potato experts tell you, you can decontaminate the hair. It doesn't matter if you snotted on it, rolled on it, put it in your pocket and took it to the market. It doesn't matter. This chain of custody, they touched it with their fingers. That's all baloney. It's all malarkey. So hair can be decontaminated, and it was. So I'm not going to delve any deeper than that. You can read the book about it yourself. And I get into deep, down the rabbit hole, so to speak, about the DNA extraction and all the results. And they even, here's a good one. I'll just do this. So basically, Seacright Laboratory emailed the study after they did DNA extraction and ran it. And the project manager said, we got PCR band that locked the right size on a gel, and sequencing looks beautiful. In other words, it's a uncontaminated, clear, clean gel. They do it on these little gel sheets. It does, but here it is. So it aligned with, in other words, they got DNA. It was pure DNA. It looked good. And it says, the guy even says, it looks beautiful, but it does not align at all with the reference sequence or anywhere else in that gene for that matter. I can even see the primers in the sequencing, and it is clearly a 423 BP amplicon, which is about 50 BP shorter than it should have been. I tried blasting the consensus and get no hits with any organism, which is so bizarre. What is this? Have you discovered a new species? So basically the hair sample they're talking about, it gave a pristine result on the PCR test and aligned, but it was novel. It was unusual. It was really strange DNA. And then when they did when they tried to blast it, in other words, they compared it to GenBank, which has all the samples in the world that are known to man, both animal and human primate. It didn't match anything. So, that just shows how clean the DNA was, and it was not contaminated. So one other thing I want to do, and I'll come back to these other points, and excuse me for scrolling. I'll do two this time. And so basically there's someone going around saying that they contacted some of the authors, and the authors denied or declined comment. Well, this person's claiming that they denied they ever worked on the paper, or that they didn't know that they were a part of it, or their work was used in it. Okay, which I find strange. And this individual and I got into a online debate a few years back where this claim was made. And let me see if I can find. And see here. It's going to take me a second because there are a lot of little things they throw out there. Let's see. I've got a lot of stuff here, sorry. Yeah. So this person claimed that these people were these scientists denied any participation in the study. Well, number one, all the scientists in the study have their picture and their bio, and it's on it's number one in the paper itself, and number two, it's on the Sasquatch genome study website. Dr. Ketchum, they each had to sign a copyright release in order for her to be able to publish the paper, and so they had to sign a release. Each one has executed and dated and signed that release. So they have, and they know, about the paper, and that it was, it was published, and they were a part of it. Now, they were kind of given cover. Dr. Ketchum has more than once explained that when the paper was published, her co-authors were put under enormous pressure, questioning by their employers, questioning by their peers, and threats were made about jobs, and it's going to ruin you. And so basically, she told them, look, just lay low, I'll be out front with the paper. And it doesn't surprise me at all that the authors either not say anything or, say, I don't know what you're talking about. Do you blame them? So, I think that's disingenuous for this person to be claiming that. Because, and I've got this here in the book, it's what is missing here. See, sometimes it's not what's there or what you can find or what evidence you have. It's what's not there. It's what should be there, but it's not. So when they're making this claim that this was a bogus paper, that these authors weren't really involved, that Dr. Ketchum made it all up, that they're unaware or they denied any involvement, well, here's the problem with that. So think about it. If you're a well-known scientist with multiple years, to your, of work, you have, you've published multiple papers in your area of expertise. Some of these people have 30 and 40 and 50, well-known experts in their field. In their community, they're well thought of and well known. If someone associated you with a Bigfoot paper and with your picture and your bio claimed that you were involved in it and you were not, and they literally made up data they would have to if you weren't involved, and said you did it and gave it to them, in other words, it was fraud, it was fraudulent, you would, number one, want to clear your name as fast as you could, correct? And you'd probably sue the pants off of Dr. Ketchum and anybody else involved in the study that you could legally get a hold of to get my name off that paper, recant, disassociate. Well, here's the thing. It's, the year 2023, the paper was published 2013. There's been no lawsuits. There's been no retraction. There's been no public articles written, anything. That's what I say here. The laboratories and everything. No laboratory used by the team has come forward to deny their participation in the study. This is going a little bit broader because you may hear other, the laboratory, blah, blah, blah. No laboratory used by the team has come forward to refute the results provided. So not only have they not come forward and said we didn't participate, they haven't come forward and said, well, that's not our results. That's not what we gave her. No member of the Sasquatch Genome Project team, scientist or otherwise, has come forward denying participation in the study. Hadn't happened. No lawsuits, no nothing. No member of the Sasquatch Genome Project team, scientist or otherwise, has come forward to claim the results were fabricated. And this excludes the Justin Smedja and Derek Randall's debacle, which they had nefarious motives, and I can get into that later. That was a mess, but that was part of it. They were basically a plant. They were trying to sabotage the study, so that's where that came from. No one in the cryptid, Bigfoot, science, or mainstream media has published an article claiming they contacted the laboratories involved for comment or an interview on the record. Reach out. Hey, why didn't you go where the DNA was run and said, hey, did you run this DNA for her? What were the results? Or if it can't give us the results, did you run DNA and did you deliver results back to her? They haven't done that. No one in the cryptid, Bigfoot, science, or mainstream media has published an article claiming they contacted the team members listed on the study of co-authors for a comment or an interview on the record. So, no one's done that. No one's asking for an interview. You've had one person say he contacted a few, and I think he said 3 or 4, and that they either, had no comment or would not respond. So here's a good one. Here's what I'm talking about. And so a prime example of how critics of the study continue to perpetuate the myth that Dr. Ketchum acted alone was the previous mentioned email debate I engaged in with Dr. Meldrum and Haskell Hart. Both gentlemen claimed during the debate that they had attempted to contact the co-authors of the Sasquatch genome study. Dr. Meldrum claimed, and this was in an email string, I attempted to contact some of her, quote, co-authors early on, in an effort to determine if indeed there was some serious analysis conducted. My initial attempts elicited no response. So at first he got no response. Remember, they were already being hammered and threatened. Or he said, my initial attempts elicited no response, or the statement that the person had no idea they had been listed as a co-author and had never seen the manuscript. Well, you can't sign a release and can't have your name, and send a picture in. These people sent their pictures in. I've seen the emails with the return emails where they sent the emails in. The authors did. So that is incorrect. My initial attempts was blah, 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 blah. I also reached out to the Ketchum co-authors asking for their comments on a previous version of my papers. I also got no response for any of them. I don't know what he's talking about there. So I asked, this is the only one, no one, that actually, was a serious, as far as I know, none of these magazines or anything else contacted him. So I requested this from Dr. Meldrum and Haskell Hart, in my response to what he just said. I said, which co-authors did you contact? What method did you use to contact them? Email, phone, etc. What was the exact response of each one? Denial, no response, etc. I have never received a response back from Dr. Meldrum or Mr. Hart concerning these questions. They never replied. That was the end of the email string. So, and I'll read this. I never received stock. Both Meldrum and Hart knew then and know now how dangerous any association with the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, or any cryptid research to a mainstream scientist's career could be. The atmosphere during the time frame of the Sasquatch Genome Project's publishing was extremely hostile, and that's to say the least. Mainstream scientists that were involved in the study were being forbidden by their supervisors or institutions to associate themselves with the results they produced or the analysis they provided. Threats went as far as termination. With the stigma and possible dire consequences associated with the Sasquatch genome study, it would be no surprise that if contacted by Meldrum or Hart, the co-authors of the study would not respond to a high-profile vocal critics of the Sasquatch Genome Project. And both Mr. Meldrum and Mr. Hart were and are definitely high-profile, especially Mr. Meldrum, and vocal critics of the study. As of the publishing of this book, no proof has been provided that the co-authors were actually contacted by Dr. Meldrum or Mr. Hart. I've not seen emails, not seen transcripts, phone calls, not seen dates, times. You know, if he provides them, I'll be glad to look at them. So during the debate, Meldrum and Hart both implied that Dr. Ketchum committed fraud by fabricating the data and analysis, and then claimed the co-authors provided it. In addition, the logical implication would be that Dr. Ketchum also used both the photographs and bios without permission or the knowledge of the co-authors. If this is true, I find it extremely odd that none of the co-authors brought legal action against Dr. Ketchum. In fact, in contradiction to Dr. Meldrum's claim that some of the named co-authors he contacted said they had no idea they had been listed as co-authors or had never seen the manuscript. This is in bold. Dr. Ketchum had written permission from all the co-authors to publish the study after they read the final version. Dr. Ketchum also obtained a copyright release from each of the co-authors so she could copyright the paper. So, you know, as I said before, those are the two that are out there. I was going to try to keep this short, and I'm still almost 30 minutes. And I'm sorry, I know, you know, I had to read a little bit, but it's just sad, and it's the way it is. And since there's going to be a coordinated, coordinated, focused effort by different parties to spread disinformation and misinformation about the study. This is going to be a classic misinformation campaign. And while at times they may tell the truth about stuff, like, well, I did try to contact the authors, that's true, they did. But it's how they twist the response or what happened and try to couch it to make it look like, you know, they try to twist the meaning and set a narrative. And so the narrative they'll try to set, you know, is it was contaminated, you know, it was fraudulent, the results were made up. That's all bunk about the labs. The labs were never did anything. And real quick, there were 13 laboratories. So because that's going to be next. They're going to slam, the samples, you know, the labs didn't do anything, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's not true. And, you know, here's the labs and the type of testing. North Louisiana Criminalistics Laboratory in Shreveport, Louisiana did forensic DNA extraction and DNA quantification. You got DNA diagnostics and all that they did here. Southwest Institute Forensic Sciences, Dallas, Texas. They did the hair analysis, and you can see here, you know, paid, yes or no, blind study, authorship. Better, granddad. So let me go. Let's see. Your Southwest Institute of Forensic Sciences, Dallas, Texas, did the hair analysis. Family Tree Diagnostics did the mitochondrial DNA, the whole genome. You can see here, Secrite, Houston, Texas, what they did. Mitochondrial DNA screening, confirmation sequence, various selected nuclear DNA loci, etc., etc. USC, Los Angeles, California, whole genome bead array, SNP analysis. Yes, they were paid. Yes, they were part of the study. University of Texas, Arlington. I've gone over this before. Wakeland, Texas. UNT Center, University of North Texas. Confirmation of the bioinformatics. Texas A&M University, College Station. University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Texas Veterinary Medical Diagnosis Center. Hughley Pathology Consultants. real labs with real people were used in the study. I don't know what, I know, can't get any more emphatic. Like I said, no, this is a shameless plug, but I wrote the book for a reason. And this is Sasquatch. I got the link will be in the video, because people are asking like detailed questions, and it's here. The detailed questions are in the book, and like I said, I'm going to zip to the end right here. And I'm going to get into that. I want to get into just to show everybody all the backup I have. I have interviews. I have articles. In other words, everything and anything I claim is, I got the receipts. It's backed up here. If I don't have it, then I didn't make, it'll say my opinion, or I have conjecture. But if I state it, it's right here, exhibits. And you can see here, I've got, page after page of exhibits. And where the articles didn't exist, I published them. They're in the book. So there is no, well, I can't find the article, it's no longer on the internet. No, it's right here. It's in the book. And I think that's important, because, you have the articles, you have the interviews with the different players. You have all this, I know, God, Scott stops, but there was an instance where a person who shot a Bigfoot and knocked a piece of flesh off of it and gave it to the study, took a lie detector test and passed it, that they did shoot a Sasquatch. And so that they did interview, and they released that, and that's in here. All the different, all the different things are just, it's just chock full of additional information, interviews, like I said. So, it's got the leaked referees' comments, author's response when the paper was in the journal Nature. It's all kinds. In other words, this is the full accounting of what, from my perspective. I mean, Dr. Ketchum could probably add, David Pilates probably could add, and some of the other players, but and I would, and I talked to Dr. Ketchum, and we, I know her, and she's a friend, and so, as far as that goes, and I know, of course, me and David Pilates are good friends, so, and I was involved. I wasn't, I wasn't doing I was getting samples and sending in, but I was still seeing things in the background. I knew what was going on in some areas, and some others I weren't. But I did my research for for this book, and like I said, I got all the receipts. So I got 30, 40 pages worth of receipts. So you can rest assured that it's well documented. And like I said, any claims I make, direct claims, are documented. If I don't have direct, if it's my opinion, I say it's my opinion. But if I've got it, I say it, and it's in the book. So I know I'm hammering that point, and I'm like, okay, we got it. No, it's very important, because when this if and when, it's more like when they start their misinformation campaign, which they've already started, then it's going to be nuts. It's going to be crazy. They're going to go everywhere with it, anywhere and everywhere, kicking and flailing their arms and screaming, anything to muddy the waters and distract you from the truth. That's the goal. Muddy the waters and get the normies. My neighbor's playing reveling. So anything to get you distracted, and to get and to make a normie just get so many facts in their mind and muddy the water that they just can't deal with it. Hang on, I can't do reveille without pausing. There we go. All right. I don't know where that came from. he practices his trumpet, and tonight he played reveille. So God bless our soldiers, and God bless the military, and God bless the United States of America. And I guess with that, that's a great place to end. So, no, it's a great place to end. Until next time, and I'll have more, and I need to get back to the Sasquatch Awareness Project, and I will. But this is important. We're hopefully in the near future going to get more information and more results released on Sasquatch, and the Dogman's coming up. So very exciting. And so I want to just, I'm going to do my part and get out there and battle these clowns. And I'm taking the fight to them. We're not on defense. We're on offense. It's time to take the gloves off. It's time to hit back and hit hard, because we have the truth on our side. We have the facts on our side. We have the science on our side. So, this time we're not rolling over. We're not going away. We're not going to be, get tired of the avalanche of whatevers. You can call me whatever you want to. You can make nasty cartoons about me all day long. Have at it. Waste your time. Hang on. It's going to be a fun ride, guys. Till next time, take care and God bless.